Chapter 2 of Tractate Rosh Hashanah continues on topics of testifying about the new moon in regards to the formation of the dates of the calendar. The first Mishnah states, if someone is being sent to Jerusalem to testify about the new moon and they don't know who he is, he should be sent with somebody to testify about his character. Originally, they would accept testimony from anyone, but then the Boethusians, a heretical sect, started disrupting the process, so this safeguard was instituted. The Gemara clarifies that they send a pair of witnesses with him. It also says we believe regular people on this normally, as people don't typically lie about things that are likely to be confirmed and have him exposed. It also explains how the Boethusians started paying people to testify falsely, so one person was paid, but he intentionally gave a very outlandish explanation of the moon, saying it had a head of a calf and deer horns and a tail and similar, and informed the sages what the Boethusians were doing, so they instituted only accepting testimony from known, trustworthy individuals. New Mishnah, originally what they had was a series of relay torches to let other cities know that they had announced a day to be Rosh Chodesh, but then the Kuthians, a different heretical group, started disrupting that, so they started sending messengers instead. It lists how the bonfire system was done. They had a series of specific mountains, from the Mount of Olives to a bunch more in sequence, and they would light a torch until the next mountain saw and lit theirs, until the next one did, until they reached the mountain of Beis Baltin, which overlooked the diaspora city of Pumbedisa, and they would wave that torch until all the flames in the city below were lit. The order of lighting these flames and when are explained, such as not by a full month and similar. The types of wood used for the torches are discussed, with definitions for all types of wood, and some points as to how the idol worshippers who persecuted the Jewish people, what they did has no remedy, as who could replace sages like Rabbi Akiva and the others who were killed by the Romans. It gives definition as to which mountains they were, and the distances between them. New Mishnah. There was a large courtyard in Jerusalem that all the moon witnesses were gathered into and examined, and they would also provide them a large feast to incentivize people to come. Originally, they were forced to stand in the courtyard all day due to the boundary limits of the Tichum laws discussed in Tractate Eruvin, but they instituted a leniency for them that they could travel 2,000 cubits in each direction, and this leniency was also given to midwives who came to deliver a baby, and somebody who goes to rescue a person from a fire, an attacking army, a flooding river, or a collapsed building. The Gemara discusses the proper spelling of the name of the courtyard, which was called Beis Yazik. New Mishnah. The witnesses were examined, the first pair first. The elder of them is brought in, and they were then asked many listed questions about how they saw the moon. If everything lines up, it's valid, and the next witnesses are also examined to see if that lines up. If they do, they still go through everybody else that arrived in the courtyard, just so people don't leave disappointed and stop coming to testify. The Gemara goes through the different moon questions as to where the placement of the moon was in relation to other celestial bodies and descriptions. After this is done, the head of the Beis Din, the court, says, "It is sanctified," and everybody repeats this after him. This is done whether or not the moon was seen on time, but some say you don't, as it was already sanctified in heaven. The Gemara brings verses as sources for all this. It also says we hold out the opinion that we don't sanctify a delayed day. New Mishnah. The sage, Rabban Gamliel, had the form of various moon shapes on a tablet and on his wall that he would use to show simple folk to ask if the moon resembled any of them. The Gemara asks, how could he make an image of the moon, as it says, "You shall not make with me," which is said to mean to not make images of God's servants. So, some say the only things that are actually forbidden to replicate are things that you can actually fully replicate, so all houses or pavilions were not built like the temple was, and the implements of the temple could not be recreated. So, menorahs in that time were all shaped differently from the one in the temple, but a moon could be fine according to this, because you can't really recreate the moon. Some say that it only refers to not recreating the four faces from the prophet Yechezkel's vision. Others say it includes angels. It's discussed. Other places it says you can't make the image of the sun, moon, stars, or constellations. So some just say that by Rabban Gamliel it was fine, as he asked a non-Jewish person to make them for him. It also says that by a protruding signet ring with an image on it, it should be defaced, as it could resemble an idol. And if it's an indented ring, you can't stamp a seal with it, as that produces a protruding image in the wax. This is discussed further. It says there was a statue of a king in a synagogue that many of the great sages prayed in, but that wasn't a cause for suspicion, as it was by a multitude of people, so there wasn't cause for suspicion. There was no suspicion by the moon images. Some say as he was the Nasi, the prince of his time. There were many people frequently in attendance there. Some say that the images were made of sections, and some say it was allowed as it was made for study, which is permissible for such things. New Mishnah. There's a bit of an odd story mentioned, that witnesses came to Rabban Gamliel and gave contradicting accounts. Yet he established a new month like they said, and similar things kept happening, so a different sage, Rabbi Yeshua, said that he's wrong. So Rabbi Gamliel told him to travel to him on the day that Rabbi Yeshua had accounted as Yom Kippur. So he was very upset, but Rabbi Akiva said it was fine, even if he was mistaken. It's legally permissible, as the verse says, "These are the festivals of God, holy convocation, that you shall declare them." And this is interpreted to mean that God accepts the festivals, even if they're not on their exactly correct date. Also, Rabbi Yeshua said that if you're going to reconsider the decisions of Rabbi Gamliel, then you have to work your way back and reconsider the decisions of every Beis Din court until Moshe, as it says that the 70 elders that judged by Moshe aren't listed by name, to teach that every Beis Din court has the same authority as the court of Moshe. Anyways, Rabbi Yeshua then went to travel to Rabbi Gamliel on a day that he had calculated as Yom Kippur, and Rabbi Gamliel greeted him with kind words and praises. The Gemara further explains the calculation and how Rabbi Gamliel accepted the testimonies due to lack of uniformity in the moon's orbit, which is sourced from verses. The remaining points from the story are discussed, and that's the end of chapter 2.